Good morning, everybody. The Right Honorable Lord Nicholas Lyons, Lord of London, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It gives me great pleasure to stand among you here in the Egyptian hall of the Mansion House to participate in this summit that marks halfway between COP27 and COP28. The current polycrisis era we are witnessing, triggered by COVID-19 pandemic, the war in Europe, the soaring food and energy prices, and the global economic slowdown. In addition to the ever-growing cost of climate impacts on the world economy. Not only did it exacerbate the need for climate finance amidst this current global situation, but also emphasized the importance of moving beyond financing green projects into exploring other opportunities for climate actions. For these reasons, climate finance continues to be a prominent focus in national budgeting, particularly in developing countries. African continent alone is in need of a $3 trillion in the coming 10 years in order to adopt climate change methods. However, the task of acquiring resources has become increasingly challenging in recent years. The rising cost of finance from international markets and the outflow of investment, influenced by the upward trend in interest rates within developed economies, have contributed to a significant decline in available funding. This situation is, of course, affecting negatively climate adaptation efforts. So, one of the challenges facing the fiscal policies in developing countries is the necessity to secure enough resources to finance the several needs, including financing adaptation. The Egyptian Ministry of Finance, in collaboration with the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa, took a significant step towards addressing the financing challenges faced by developing countries in pursuing their development and climate ambitions. We launched the Sustainable Debt Coalition during Finance Day at COP27 in Sharm el-Sheikh in November 2022. These Sustainable Debt Coalition initiatives, which we are trying to convince everybody, the primary objectives of the Sustainable Debt Coalition is to create the necessary physical space for these nations to achieve a positive environmental outcome, address the challenges of sustainable debt management, and reduce the cost of green borrowing. It is part of the broader efforts to bridge the climate financing gap and support developing countries in their transition, and it has to be just transition, in their transition to green economies. It also focuses on various aspects, debt management, including reducing the cost of debt in new issuance that align with sustainable and environmental goals, and explores options such as sovereign debt guarantees and blended finance to lower capital costs for debtor nations at a larger scale. These efforts are crucial for supporting climate action and sustainable development. Currently, the Ministry of Finance is actively working with the COP27 presidency and the international partners to present and operationalize this initiative at the international level. The Council of Ministers of the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa demonstrated its support by adopting a resolution in March 2023, endorsing the framework of Sustainable Debt Coalition. The initiative is expected to be a central focus for finance ministers in upcoming year. We have scheduled a meeting in Egypt in September 2023 to officially launch the Sustainable Debt Coalition. I invite countries and financial institutions to join this coalition as it provides a platform to enhance cooperation, establish a shared framework, and effectively govern sustainable debt transactions. This coalition of the willing allows sovereign debtors and creditors to work together, advance their environmental agenda, and simultaneously create physical space for debtor nations without disrupting the international financial market and without disrupting the needs for developing countries and the emerging countries to have space for growth and meet their people needs in food and energy. It aims to safeguard the interest of all parties involved. Furthermore, during this year, Finance Day, several other initiatives were introduced, including the Sharm el-Sheikh Guidebook for Just Financing, launched by the Egyptian Ministry of International Cooperation, which aims to expedite the flow of climate finance, particularly towards developing economies. Additionally, the event also saw the launch of the initiative to reduce the cost of green borrowing. The Egyptian government has further proved its commitment to adopting green economy programs and encouraging projects that align with national strategy for addressing climate change through implementing various initiatives for green transformation and achieving sustainability in the Egyptian economy, with one of the most important being the NWAFI initiative. It mainly aims to provide appropriate funding to ensure food security, obtain clean energy, and develop the water sector. Furthermore, Egypt has made a significant contribution towards sustainable financing by issuing first African and Middle East sovereign green bond in the Middle East and North Africa. This bond amounting for $750 million, signifying a landmark achievement. They align with the sovereign sustainable finance framework introduced during the previous climate summit, showing Egypt's commitment to innovate financing and social development. These initiatives play a vital role in advancing the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals and fostering a more sustainable future. Through the implementation of initiatives like the Sustainable Debt Coalition and the issuance of sovereign green bonds and also green financing, we were able to get $1.5 billion a green financing loan to finance projects which align with climate change, as well as promoting the active participation of the private sector in private projects with a specific emphasis on green hydrogen. We can enhance financial mechanisms, drive sustainable development, and contribute to establishment of a more environmental friendly and resilient world. However, more is still needed to be done in order to ensure that adequate and just financing is available to those countries most affected by climate change. There has been a great deal of discussion around MDB's reform, and the Egyptian Ministry of Finance has taken note with great interest that suggestion to crowd in more private capital and implement change in the MDB's DFI risk posture and or the assumption of international risk in their product offerings. This would enable the crowding in of commercial bank and institutional investors, thereby unlocking capital on a greater scale than MDB FDIs can currently leverage and in new forms. taken into consideration that the goal of these suggestions should be providing developing countries with more financial flows at concessional terms, and not just to increase the component of private finance in a multilateral development effort. This suggestion falls in line with the message echoed in the G20 meetings, where calls have been made towards increasing the role of MDBs in financing sustainable development and achieving its goals. This echoes with the role expected to be played by the working group in restructuring the global financial architecture, where more coordination and collaboration will occur with the MDBs. In this regard, we support the call to reallocate part of the SDRs by our development partners to regional development banks, including the African Development Bank. This reallocation will be transferred to them to recapitalize and help them support vulnerable countries in these tiring times. This means that MDBs need to be recapitalized and avail more resources in favor of developing countries. This would help alleviate the pressure and give way to improved fiscal and economic policies, especially related to adaptation effort in the developing countries. I am sure that our sessions today will give a momentum to the global discussions in the area of financing a just transition for all, and that with our cooperation in the south and north of our planet, we shall be able to overcome this climate challenge and deliver a greater planet to our children. I thank you all for your attention and wish you a successful summit. Thank you very much.